Happy Friday to you. I am Jen Yates, and you are locked on to Jyneration Nation. We're on LRS102.com, The Walrus, Louisville's rock stream, broadcasting from the Launch Louisville studios at East Broadway. And yay, I'm always happy on a Friday, especially today because I have a friend and a fellow musician, Jeff Baxter, also a producer up in my studio. How are you doing, Jeff?
Hello.
There we go.
It's pretty loud.
Yeah, there we go. I got you down, man. Sorry about that.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, same, man. So you do all kinds of stuff. Jeff, I was turned on to you, I think, through Elaine Hartwick.
Yeah.
I believe. I always ask my guests, how do we meet? And I think it was through Elaine, right?
She's great. Yeah, she helped me. Actually, Alan Morris turned me on to Elaine. She's awesome.
Alan Morris is also awesome. I want to have him up in the show because we just did some recording together, which you're producing, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah, this is our second album.
Cool.
And he's great. I've known him for about 35 years.
Wow. Yeah, he's an awesome bass player, awesome singer. I didn't even know he did his own solo stuff until, we started talking, and then he wanted me to play on a track, and I was like, absolutely. I love nothing more than the recording part of music.
Well, your track sounded great.
Well, thank you.
We're going to get it.
I'm still working on it.
Well, I'm still working on it too, but it sounds great.
Yeah, sweet. Well, I loved it when you sent it over. I was a big fan. So, do you know anything about LRS?
I had the one of the very first. It was the LRS 102 homemade pie. You remember that?
Oh yeah. We actually have a copy up in the studio.
Years ago, my favorite album. I love that. That album is awesome.
Yeah.
It's got Waiting for That Chicken Pie to Cool, Street Corner Girl.
Is it the one with the old lady in the pie on the front?
Jenny
I've got
Hartman.
that here in the studio somewhere. I'll show it to you.
That was Jenny Hartman.
Jenny Hartman. You know who it was.
Yeah,
Wow.
I love that album.
So you know that LRS was famous for the homemade records back in the day. Every year they would take artists around town and they would put together a homemade record and they'd go record it. And they'd put it out every year. We're going to bring those back, actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I was young. I didn't. Back then, I was. I think I was about 11 or 12 years old, and I had a reel-to-reel tape deck, and I would use, and that's what I used to learn on. I recorded drums, record guitar, and record bass, and make my own recordings. And I wish I would have kept a lot of those things. They sounded horrible, but I had a blast with it.
Yeah, I've got plenty of those too that sound really bad. But who knows? You never know, and one day you still might want to release stuff like that. You just, I know that as I wanted to have you in today because you are a producer, and I have yet to have a producer on the show, and I'm a producer myself. So it took me a long time to realize I was. It took Julie Wolfe convincing me that I was a producer.
You're awesome.
Thank you. Well, when you got somebody like a Julie Wolfe, I don't know if you know anything about her, but basically the story goes like this. I went on an audition at Actors Theater for a show called Girlfriend. It was a musical, and they needed a female band behind them. So I thought, great. Somebody called me and said, I want you to audition. Nancy Harris called me, and so I went and auditioned because I had taken some drum lessons from Sam before he passed. Sam Harris, who was in our Louisville Orchestra, as well as a lot of other cool things. He was a great drummer. So anyway, I go in to audition, and Julie Wolfe is the musical director, and she ended up hiring me. She was sitting there with her little broken leg at the time playing guitar. I didn't know anything about Julie Wolfe. I get the role, and we're in rehearsals, and they hired me, Sarah Lee of the B-52s, Gang of Four, Thompson Twin, and she's toured with everybody. Now, she recently toured with Robert Fripp. And then Kelly Ritchie, who I went on to tour with, was on lead guitar, and then me on drums. Well, I didn't know any of these people, so I go home I Googled them, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
I'm working with all these people.
Yeah. So Julie Wolfe had basically toured with Ani DeFranco most of her career, and the Indigo Girls had produced a lot of their stuff. She is a producer out at Fantasy Studios out in San Francisco. She just produced Carly Simon's record last year. It just came up on my Facebook memories. And has worked with everybody. I mean, she's even played with Prince at one point. That's how, her name is still underground, but she's very synonymous with female producers. Yeah. So when I was out in L.A., that show eventually got picked up to go to L.A. I went out to L.A. Julie Wolfe was the musical director again. We had a different band out there. Me and Julie were the two from the Louisville show. And I was working on a record called Welcome to the Queendom. It was my first electronic record because I had done rock records and blues records and country records and all these other different, and pop and stuff like that. But I really wanted to do electronic because I was big into the electronic stuff. So I let her hear some of the stuff, and I was like, I'm not really that good. I'm just doing it the way I know how to do it. And I got my editing skills from radio and, and all this stuff. I've always recorded drums and whatnot, which I find is one of the hardest things to do, the drums, always. And she goes, man, I think you're an amazing producer. And she kind of gave me the confidence I needed to keep producing. And then after that, I went on to produce Beverly McClellan.
Yeah.
And then now I'm
Stuff.
producing my own solo record called Her Street. So that's going to be out soon. I've got like 25 tracks. It might be a double record.
For a long time,
Yeah.
I've been wanting to pick your brain because
Sure.
you've got all kinds of your experience.
Just random.
I think it's way exceeds mine.
Oh, bull.
No.
Well, I appreciate that.
So it's really good that we get to meet up and do the music and all this stuff like that.
Yes, and then I saw you play, and I was like, what does he play? You literally play everything, I feel like.
I try.
I've seen you play
surrounded
drums.
with so many good musicians around this town.
Yeah.
Louisville has so many awesome musicians, and I've learned from just about every one of them.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I mean, I did 17 years with a variety band called Anxiety, and Jimmy Brown actually belonged to that band.
Jimmy Brown's coming in here next
Brown's
week.
Amazing.
I'm about to clash with Jimmy Brown in a good way because he's not only coming in on the show next week, but we're about to do. I hired him for Louisville Pride because I've never gotten to play with Jimmy Brown. I've done auditions. In fact, the audition I went on for Girlfriend, Jimmy Brown was the bass player.
You're going to love him.
I can't wait to play with him.
So.
That's what I hear, and I've seen him play. And
he's a lot of fun to watch play too.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I like to smile and and make faces when I play, and he does too. So I was like, ooh, I can't wait to look at him and just smile.
He's awesome.
Yeah, and we got a semi-set list last night. I was about to tell you this though, the Louisville Pride gig, just because we started this story off air, and then we're just going to continue it on air. LaVon Fisher Wilson. I got her. She runs a band called the Queens of Funk and Soul here, and she's a big Broadway star. She was Mama Morton in Chicago on Broadway. She also was in The Color Purple with Fantasia, Todd Recall, Newsies. Her list is crazy. Yeah. Her base is here in Louisville. So when they came to me and wanted a band for Pride, I said, hang on, let me see if I can get this chick because that would be really cool. And she had been watching me on social media with my all-girl band from She Castle. That's what she said. Yep. And she goes, can we combine the two? And I went, wow, that would be really cool. Because she's got like 6 backup singers from YPass with the outfits and the dance moves, and they do all the big stuff. They do all, Aretha and Whitney and Jill Scott and Erykah Badu. They do all the big, the big stuff. And so that's what we're going to do. So Jimmy Brown's going to be on bass for that. I'm going to be on drums. Yep. Jessica Bullock on keys from my She Castle group. Or that's what she said group.
Great players.
Donna Bivens on lead guitar. And then you've got Broadway superstars in front of us. So how cool is that going to be?
The She Castle lineup that you guys have, it was just incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Y'all did a great job.
Yeah. Half of those were landed by me, and half of them were landed by Elaine. So we hope to do that every year annually and make it a thing every year where we just make it bigger stage, bigger acts, more singers, more band members. I told them if it was up to me and we had a big enough stage, I could get a whole girl horn section, a whole girl string section. I'm like, I've played in orchestras with all these amazing players. Why not use them? They all want to play, you know? Yeah, so it's super cool. Thank you for that. So, Jeff, let's start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in music? Were you born into a musical family, or did you just pick it up along the way?
Well, I'm gonna give credit to my sisters.
Okay.
My mom and dad. I mean, I was just a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
And they'll totally agree. Anybody that knows me, my mom, she bought me just about any instrument that I'd ever wanted.
Wow, that's a great
mom.
I
mean, here I am at 6 years old. I had the old Magnus, the keyboard, and I think I even had a reel-to-reel. She bought me one of those. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's AWIA. The little little reel-to-reel tape recorder, and I had that, and I used to just go around recording stuff, and then I had my old J.C. Penney catalog guitar.
Oh man, I love those things. I used to go through that J.C. Penney catalog and circle.
I mean, I loved it, but I didn't really start to understand music until I was in high school.
Yeah.
And then Joe Atkinson
Okay. Were you here locally?
Yeah,
okay,
I've been
you
here in
were.
Louisville all my life.
Wow, cool.
So just
Born
really
and bred. Were
just born
you
bred
a
here.
South Ender?
South End.
I was gonna say I had a feeling you might be the dirty South Ender.
I'm pretty dirty South End.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I like to call it the dirty.
Yeah, I love South End though. I'm never gonna leave.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Cool. Yeah.
So I'm gonna stay there.
Yeah.
So I'm just real lucky to be able to do what I do, and it's been something I've done. I've just kind of worked with it, and you just pick up stuff as you go.
Yeah,
You know?
that's super cool. So, what instrument? Because you literally do play everything. I mean, we were jamming or something, and you even brought over like an electronic pedal steel.
Yeah, the little lap steel.
Yeah,
the
that lap steel is so cool.
It is. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
and
it sounds real.
It's sort of it's starting to sound better, but
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm really pitchy on it. I'm starting to learn. Anybody that plays slide, you definitely have to learn that. I've got so many more years to learn if I'm gonna get a little better.
Yeah. Do you know Johnny Berry?
I love Johnny
Oh,
Berry.
me too.
He's
Yeah,
great. He's one of my favorite steel players around here.
Me too.
I don't think he knows me as well as I know him. We went out and see me and my cousin John Baxter say, we used to gig up at Gerstl's, and looking forward to another gig with your cousin. We went out and we went to Turner's after a gig.
Okay.
And went down there and we saw Todd Hallett, wonderful picker, Shannon Lawson.
Yeah,
the
Shannon Lawson, yeah.
And we saw them, and they were just amazing. And Johnny Berry down there, they're just burning up. And Steve Cooley,
Oh,
amazing.
of course.
He's
Steve
awesome.
Cooley was on the show last week.
Yeah, I heard that. And thanks for those kind words, by the way, Steve.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah.
But you guys
Steve
are
is an awesome dude.
Oh,
he, in fact, talking about producing, he produced
He's a
my
great
first record when I got to Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's
that's how I
awesome.
met him. Yeah.
These guys are great.
Oh, I know.
I mean, we got such a we got.
I know we got a laughter track going on there.
That
was in sync too.
They don't believe it out there.
I know.
But we got a great group of. We have so many different people here in Louisville that have just wonderful.
Yeah.
Music is incredible.
Man,
So-
I agree. I talk about this often on the show. Louisville is blessed with musicians. Every time, I don't have family here, so I'm by myself here in this city and have been for a while. So I always have thought about moving closer to my family, my mom and my dad and my sister and niece and nephew, who are closer to Nashville.
Yeah.
But there's just something about Louisville that sucks me back in every time I try to leave. Every time.
What part of the? I know it was kind of in between. I guess the Tennessee and Kentucky.
Yeah.
It was kind of right in between. wasn't
Yeah, I grew up in Lake Cumberland in Adair County.
Okay.
I was literally like 5 minutes from Green River and about 10-15 from Lake Cumberland.
Yeah,
So I was right smack dab in the middle. Small town Columbia, 3,600 people.
Yeah.
My mom and sister and brother-in-law and the kids eventually moved to Bowling Green, so they're based in Bowling Green right now. But my dad is still Adair County, and I have a lot of cousins, and the Yates side is all Adair.
Bowling Green has some of the coolest music.
Yeah, Tommy
Man.
Womack and Cage
like
the Elephant and
Moon Taxi.
Moon
one of
Taxi.
my
That's
favorite.
right. Yeah, they're around. Yeah,
That's
I saw
awesome.
them play not too long ago, actually. Yeah, and I love, like you, I like to go out and see people. I love to watch new artists. And
We were talking about bands. You were asking me a little bit. Moon Taxi, I'd have to say they're just so cool.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
one of my favorite bands. I
yeah,
think.
Bowling Green's got a cool little scene down there. Yeah, and so does Nashville. I mean, Nashville's got a crazy scene too.
Nashville's got everything.
I know, they literally do. I'm going to be down there in a couple weeks. Of course, I did a record down there last year, actually in Franklin, Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
Dark
Vince,
Horse.
Vince is down there. Our buddy
yeah?
Vince Emmett.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. I need to hook up with him.
I tell you, he's one of the cool guys that back a long time ago he was in a band. Of course, he's from Louisville. A long time ago, he was at Alan Martin Studios, but he's one of my heroes around here. He really didn't. I think he understands it now. I always tell him that he's one of my heroes. He's one of my. I guess I looked up to him.
In what way? Just playing wise, or
he had a
producing,
studio
or?
there on Route Road. He still has it actually, but he's mainly in Franklin.
Yeah.
But he's one of the coolest guys, and he's helped me a little bit. But that little bit went a long way. Just a short time that he's always encouraged me. He's just a really cool guy.
Yeah.
He's produced some of the coolest stuff and worked with everybody.
That's
and he
awesome.
produces, he works with Ricky Skaggs and Emmylou Harris.
Ricky Skaggs, man, Kentucky Thunder.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Ricky Skaggs was the first concert I ever saw in my life.
Yeah.
Believe it. Of course, I'm a Kentucky girl.
Yeah, so you had to see, it had to be somebody like
well, and I'm from land of Steve Warner, so Steve Warner's cats were the next county over, and his cousin, you'll love this goes back to pedal steel. I got my start playing music with pedal steel players, playing steel guitar conventions.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah.
When we were over at Elaine's that one time.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I always like to laugh. I was telling Max Maxwell this the other day too, because when I was really young, they would take me to this little steel guitar convention. So Steve Warner's brother played drums for him, Terry Warner, and then his cousin played pedal steel. Beckham Collins was his name.
Yeah.
And Beckham owned the only music store around anywhere in the country where I was from. So we would go over there and frequent. My dad would go in there, wheel and deal all the drums and such like that. And then, they would just show me things. I was around all these awesome musicians when I was a kid, and I practically was raised by them, We would go over there and play music. There was always somebody over there on the stage playing, practicing. They had practice rooms, and they produced stuff there. And Beckham was an amazing pedal steel player. He played a lot of different stuff, but pedal steel was his main thing. And, of course, cousin to the Warners. They were all big buds. The tour bus would pull up through there.
Huge.
Oh, yeah. And so, and if you listeners don't know, Steve Warner went on to, he had a slew of hits himself in the 80s. Linda, Do You Want to Dance? And The Weekend was always one of my favorite tracks. And anyway, he went on Holes in the Floor of Heaven. He later hit with in the 90s. And then he wrote for a lot of people like Garth Brooks and whatnot. Huge hits. He's had major hits. Yeah, but so anyway, I would do that. They would have pedal steel guitar conventions. All these pedal steel players would come in from all over the place that knew Beckham. They would all set up, and they literally would play like 12 hours straight, And they would put me on a drum set and be like, just play a shuffle. We're all going to go to party. Have fun. We'll see you when you get back. So I'd just sit there and, and try to play. I didn't know anything about music back then.
That's the coolest beat, though. When
Isn't
you
it
learn
the
a
shuffle?
good shuffle,
Oh,
man, you could play with.
Yeah. It blew my mind from a theory perspective when I started to realize that you have eighth notes, and if you're going to swing them, you just push them and make that last eighth note, the and, into the last hit of the triplet.
You're going to have to teach me some of that stuff, because I still...
When you look at it on paper, you're just pushing it closer to count 2 or count 3 or count 4. You know what I mean? And once you learn that, you're like, oh, wow, it blew my mind once I figured that out, Yeah,
I still can't make my left hand hit the second, all those little ghost notes that aren't.
Oh, yeah.
But it's basically that left hand that you gotta.
You know what Marvin Maxwell told me? And Marvin, I call him the shuffle king because he's the shuffle king, and he can do the double-handed shuffle or I call it the jazz shuffle. I'm not for sure what everybody else calls it. I've heard it, called the double shuffle a lot of times. Anyway, it's where you use both of your hands and you do the da 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 da, but you have to hit the backbeat on 2 and 4 with it still. And it's got all the ghost notes. He said it's so hard because for a drummer, you have to completely relax. If you can't relax, you cannot get that groove out. And he's a master at it.
No wonder I can't do it.
I still struggle with it sometimes. I love shuffles. They're really interesting. I teach them all the time.
Yeah.
When people say to me of the older generation that they feel like music today is not as dancey as it used to be, I credit that with... I think it's because we moved from more of a shuffle-based
traditional grip to
yeah.
Right.
I feel like we moved from if you look at early rock and roll coming out of blues and all that, the Chuck Berry, the Little Richard, all that stuff, Sam and Dave, all those were shuffle-based.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in the 70s, it started to go straight up eighth note based, more straight feel.
Yeah.
So I feel like that movement is why people, because if you play a shuffle right at a good tempo with a great band, people will be dancing all night long.
Yeah.
But you don't always get that with a straight eighth note beat.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about, since you bring that up, the perfection. Music really kind of has lost a little bit, a lot of its soul, because it's really, we're correcting everything, where everybody's locked into that major.
They're quantizing things.
Quantize all those beats, and we're locked into that major scale or whatever, or chromatic. And you can't, I mean, all the auto tune. And I tell you, I'm not a big fan of that.
Of the auto tune, right?
So,
yeah.
so
Thank you, Cher.
Yeah.
Cher, I believe, was the first track we ever got with auto tune.
Well, there's a place for it, and it's really useful in pop, and sometimes you have to use it for special effects. But
for effects, yes. But if you're going to correct your vocals and you can't sing it in the first place, then don't sing.
I love to hear a vocalist that's hitting that note, but they're riding, just the top end of it, or maybe just slightly below, and they're not on, but they're close enough to where that emotion. You have to.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, with my Beverly McClellan,
she was awesome.
I never had to auto tune nada.
Yeah.
And guess what? She only ever would do one take almost always. She was like, I'm done. She didn't like to spend a lot of time on the recording. And when she did give it to you, she'd give it to you. But then she'd be like, okay, I'm done.
She was absolutely a star.
Yeah.
I mean, she really
know
was.
she
I'm
was,
sorry
man.
for your loss.
No, I get cold chills talking about her because
I know it.
I feel like she's with me at all times. And I know she is. And I know she messes with me on the spiritual side because she always told me she was going to. So every now and then I'll come out and there'll be a bird feather left for me or something.
Yeah.
Bird feather is my signature that she's around because she always had she had a African gray that she carried with her at all. It was in the studio with us. In fact, in a lot of the recordings, you can hear the bird chirping in the background. Yeah. But we always knew the track was good if the bird was bouncing up and down when we were recording it.
That's awesome.
Because that bird she would not separate from that bird. And she also had another little bird called Minnie Pearl. That was the bird's name. It always cracked me up. So she was always having birds around her. So, birds are kind of my signal that she's around. She leaves me feathers. She always tried to give me feathers all the time. So that's kind of my signature.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but I loved her because she would give me she'd give me her main vocal line, and then she'd always want to go back and do a high, mid, and a low harmony behind her. So, and not only that, but in a good way, she was kind of split personality.
Yeah.
And as a producer, it was awesome. I mean, she would be like, okay, now let me give my, she called him Shabby. Shabby was her reggae character, right? So she would have me go back and give her reggae character a track. And then she'd do it all reggae, And if you listen, a lot of people have asked me, they're like, who is that in the background? I'm like, no, that's Bev. It just doesn't sound anything like her. But she had multiple different characters that she liked for me to give tracks to when we were recording.
She didn't give you any bad tracks. I mean, even the bad tracks. We were talking about that. Oh my gosh.
Even the bad tracks are amazing.
Great tracks. Yeah.
And you can see why I wanted to put a microphone on her at all times. You know. She didn't know anything about technology or any of the business stuff. She really didn't care anything about that. She was a true artist. Yeah. And she was kind of reclusive. She really did not like to play bars and to meet people and all this stuff. She was, she could turn it on when she did. But at the same time, she would rather be sitting in the house writing a song any day of the week. Yeah. So I would put a mic on her all the time, and I still have probably 20 or 30 things that I haven't released of hers.
No, she was. Did she win or did she?
She didn't win. Yeah,
she didn't win, and
she was on season 1 of The Voice. Now, before she went on The Voice, she had already put out like 5 records or something like that, maybe 4. And I'm still trying to find some of her old records because some of them are almost obsolete, Yeah. But her band sent in something to The Voice, the people she was playing with at the time, and when they got the call saying we're going to take you to L.A., she was like, this is a joke. She was not going to get on that plane. Yeah. And they were like, no, you have to. And she was like, I don't want to. I think this is a joke. And then she did, and then that's what happened. Wow. The rest is history.
Did you go down with her?
No, I didn't know her back then. I met her after. Yeah. I met her several years after The Voice. I forget. I think that was 2009. I met her in 2013.
You were probably playing with Kelly Ritchie or
Actually, I met her on stage at Michigan Women's Music Festival. That's another great story in itself. Our meeting was mind-blowing, and everything we did was magic. I don't want to take up your whole time talking about but here's how we met. I had been hired in by Julie Wolfe to play. They needed a drummer to be the house drummer at Michigan Women's Music Festival. You're talking about like 15,000 women come into this festival. It's all produced by women. That's why I did the She Castle in honor of this, how we met. So she was one of our artists on the bill. We had all star line. Everybody from like Sia to Tracy Chapman to, everybody had played this. Bonnie Raitt had played it back in the day, and all-star band, people, girls I'm still friends with that have toured all over the world and whatnot. I was in a band with Vicki Randall there. Vicki Randall is the first female that was on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. She was the conga player in the house band. She went on to tour with, well, she just put up pictures with her and Lionel Richie from Dancing on the Ceiling yesterday on Facebook, but she just got off tour with Mavis Staples, was her background singer. She sang with Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin. She toured with Quincy Jones. I mean, she did everything. This was my percussion player in the band, if that tells you anything. Everybody else had done just as much as she had.
That's cool.
So Bev comes on, and she shows up the day of the show, and we're having a rehearsal that morning, and she's doing Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks' "Stop Dragging My Heart Around," a duet, and nobody knows. Bev walks in, and and keep in mind the bass player from Betty, who has the hit theme song on the L Word, had hired me in, and she's my bass player. All right, so this was my first gig, and I'm trying to be on my best behavior and do the best job possible, so I get hired back. So Bev comes in, she does her song, and gets to the ending, and Bev does her singer thing, like, we're going to end it here, and the bass player rips her a new one in front of the whole band and was like, we are not going to end it that way, that's not how, we're not doing that way, Beverly. And so Bev looks at me and she's like, is she always an asshole like this? That's what she said right in front of everybody, and I was like, awkward, because the bass player had hired me in. I didn't know Bev at the time. Yeah. So after that, she was like, okay, we'll do it your way. Bev was like, okay, cool, we'll do it your way. Awesome. She goes, next singer comes in. I have to practice the rest of like the next hour. So she sits there and she watches the whole practice. And as soon as I get off stage, she runs up to me and she was like, dude, where are you from? She was like, you're cool. And I was like, I'm from Kentucky. And she said, well, I'm from Tennessee, small town, right? Yeah. So we get to talking, and she was like, do you want to go to the woods with me? And I was like, yeah, I do. So we go to the woods, and there's all these naked women showering above us. And we're in some kind of cove, and we're talking, and she's asking me questions about how I got there and whatnot. And we just had a magical friendship from the moment we met. Yeah. So she was like, man, that was weird, And meanwhile, the bass player comes over, and she's asking me to go over parts by air drumming them. And Bev is looking at her like, she was like, girl, air drumming? Really? She was like, what are you going to do? She's doing her hands.
Air drum.
Yeah, you did. So anyway.
Rush, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
to Rush, yeah.
But to Rush,
Oh, cool. I love that. Yeah. So it comes to the show that night. And we get on stage, and here comes Bev, and it's time for her thing, and we're in front of thousands and thousands of people on a huge stage, and it gets to the ending, and she turns to me like to give me the big hand thing that she's about to, how singers are. They'll turn to you and be like, yeah, let's drop it right here. So she went for the ending, and I went with her because I was like, I got to end when the singer does the movement things, So we ended it like Bev wanted to, not how the bass player had told us So Bev walks over to that bass player, drops her microphone in front of her, and she goes, I'm stealing you, damn drummer. And she looked at me and she goes, you're my drummer from now on. And she walks off stage. Aww. And I was like, awkward. Yeah. And from that moment on, we went on to play Ohio Women's Music Festival, and then Kansas City Pride. We played Louisville Pride. She came here. She skipped a plane flight and came to Louisville, to my house in the Highlands, and stayed for about 5 or 6 months. And that was that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so pretty awesome story, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I just thought it was funny because I was like, I can't leave her up there looking like she's going to end the song when, the whole band doesn't go with her.
Yeah, well, you've got a lot of, you've still got a lot of recordings.
Yeah, I've got a ton.
You can produce quite a few.
Actually, one of my favorite is her song Living Room, and you'll love this. We were just talking about Sue O'Reilly, my other bass player, my bass player of 12 years that had passed as well. I put Sue O'Reilly on Bev's track, Living Room.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, I get cold chills again. Look, I got cold chills. The spirit is with us today. Yeah, so anyway, I have a lot of stuff of Bev's, just her solo stuff, as well as stuff we did for Hillbilly Swagger. And she's going to make a couple of appearances on the solo record of mine. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We had this awesome saying, Jesus might forgive us, but the South never will. And we started making a hook out of that. And we never finished it because by the time she got sick, she couldn't sing a lot. So she would always be like, you take the verses to me. Well, I don't really sing, but she would make me sing. She was like, she loved my voice. She was like, even though you don't sing, you have this really bassy low tone that fits underneath mine really awesome. And she goes, I wish I had that, Yeah. So she would write a song, and then she'd be like, All right, well, time for your verse. I'll see you in about an hour. Let me hear what you got. So she would push me in that way to write stuff when I was just producing for her, you know.
She trusted you with it.
She did, and she wanted me to throw in raps and stuff, because on Welcome to the Queendom, when we had met, I was just starting to use my voice in some of that stuff, because I had done all these records and never, ever done vocals. That was the only thing I'd never done.
Yeah. Same here. I mean, I'm not a vocalist at all. I mean, I'll do backups, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for singers, real singers who can just rock it, you know. But yeah, with her, you never had to auto-tune her. You never had to pitch anything. You know, she, I don't know. I just love to sit in a room. If you were just sitting in a room like me and you are with her, she would do her big vocal runs and just give you cold chills. You know what I mean? It was just like that spiritual. It was that magical. Yeah, so rest in peace, Beverly McClellan, man. I wish you'd have gotten to meet her. Yeah, if you'd have met me about
I'm sure I would have
couple
loved her.
years before.
She was amazing.
Yeah, and she, can you believe this? Not one music lesson ever in her life.
That's just strange how some people
It's
are just
crazy.
like they have music.
I know.
You know.
And Steve Vai and her were really close. They toured together overseas, and he had her guitar built for her, custom made over in Ireland somewhere. Yeah, it was weird.
Cool.
It had the hole up on the top of it.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on one of the videos. I think it was that. I couldn't remember.
It's an interesting guitar. It's still hanging down in Florida in the House of Hope. So that's where we'd always hang.
Whenever you done the drums over there, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, enough about that. But let's get back to you, because you got all kinds of talking about producing. You're producing all kinds of cool stuff, right?
Well,
do you want to talk about some of that?
I tell you what, I'm working with some people like. Of course, I always bring up Alan because he's, you know, that he's just a great guy. You know, I'm working with I work with Sophia. I would say Sophia Pickett, but it's Sophia Powell.
Yeah, let's talk about her.
That's Wilson Pickett, the wonderful
Wilson Pickett. In the midnight hour, Wilson Pickett. Mustang Sally, Wilson Pickett.
And her daughter, we just done a track about a month and a half ago, I think. And she is just incredible.
Sweet. I really want to meet her. How old is she?
Loftus. And she, I think she just turned 16.
Oh, okay. So she's
real young. Wonderful. She's really talented. Wonderful singer.
Wow.
And
to be Wilson Pickett's grandkid.
Oh yeah, that alone, that's royalty. I told Sophia,
royalty.
I said, Sophia, you're gonna have to come over and sign my guitars. There's just no excuse.
Heck yeah.
So
wow. Well,
awesome.
Kudos to you. So is she recording a record or just a couple songs?
It was just that one track, but Sophia mentioned that she's probably going to come back and do some more. So
love that.
So that and
wow, Wilson Pickett's granddaughter. That's pretty awesome.
And I'm working on an album from Steve Cole. He's a dear friend of the family, but he was one of the security guards in the White House. He's in Maryland. And he just a super sweet guy, and we were working on a country CD, and he wrote a song for my mom. He also wrote one for the legend who's still around and wonderful guy, Welton Lane. Welton Lane is a Louisville. He's a legend around here. He's a wonderful country singer, and I mean, my mom used to go see him when I was a young, just a little brat. And so Steve, we were producing, basically a long story. Steve wrote a song about Welton, and when we were producing it, and he had to come and do some more work on it. Well, I secretly called Welton, his son. I got in touch with his son, and I said, "Hey, it would be great if you could come over. And we're going to be recording these 3 days. Anytime during these 3 days, if you can come over." And first day came and went, no Welton. Second day, the third day, Welton showed up, and it was a surprise. I didn't tell Steve at all. So when Steve came back in the room and Welton was there, it was there was just tears and everything. It was just wonderful. And that's one of the things. It's a country CD, and it's
cool.
So yeah,
I love
it's
a
awesome.
country record.
I brought a lot of these tracks just in case.
Yeah.
But working with him, working with a wonderful singer. There's a really cool kid. His name's, and I call him a kid because he's just a young. Yeah. Was he 19? I think he might be 20 now. I'm not sure. Yeah. But his name's Adam Fusco, and he's outstanding. I always said, I told people, I said, if this kid ever makes it on, The Voice or American Idol, he's a star.
Yeah.
He's a star.
Cool.
And
well, I trust your judgment on that.
Well, he's great. I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, I've worked with a lot.
I know.
Looking with,
y'all can't see this, but Jeff has a whole cheat sheet.
I got a sheet
of things that he's got going on.
I mean, just different people that worked.
Yeah,
with.
you want to remember them all.
I'm writing. I'm doing some writing right now with Greg Friend.
Cool.
He's just great.
Are these all Louisville artists for the most part?
For the most part.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and of course I can't not mention my buddy Jim Dishman. He's my gig man. He's just one of my best friends. He's taken me just about every place around town. And we do gigs and duos, and I gig with him and Matt Phelps.
I think I saw y'all online. Is that the guy I saw you online with playing recently?
Yeah. I'm his little monkey boy. He says. So I'm
Are you playing tonight somewhere?
Yeah, I'm playing at. Let's see. Tonight is.
I'm like, it's Friday, musician night.
See, Joe's Older Than Dirt.
Joe's. Hey, I was just there last Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I love that place.
It's a great place.
Oh man,
and,
awesome venue.
Matt Phelps. Matt Phelps is another Louisville legend. I think this guy, he's incredible.
Sweet.
I mean, he blows
we
my
need
mind.
to get
He's
all of
one of the
them in.
best flat pickers around.
Cool.
And he and the band Bourbon Revival, which I'm lucky to sub with. I'm actually playing some gigs with them.
Bourbon Revival.
Bourbon Revival.
I love the name.
And they're great.
Man, you've had some great band names.
Yeah.
You were telling me earlier about the Polyester.
Yeah, Polyester.
A band named Polyester. They were a disco group.
Disco group,
right?
And we played the fair. It was years ago, and that was a disco band.
Yeah,
and
I love that. The state fair you're talking about?
Oh, yeah. It was, I mean, I had bell bottoms,
Awesome.
a green poncho with a chain and sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
And, man, it was, I mean, we really looked the part.
Yeah, it sounds like, can I please see pictures of that?
Oh,
Eventually
man, no. You can't see them.
I want to see the Bill Bottoms and the Polyester shirts. And
Nobody burn those pictures.
I'm gonna hit up somebody who's got them. I bet your son might.
You know what?
Some.
I have a feeling some of those pictures are going to resurface.
Yeah, that's the best though when they do. I love when old pictures
resurface. I can't stop it, and so I just apologize. Yeah. Anybody I'm going to offend, I'm sure I'm going to offend a bunch of people. So.
Yeah. My mom likes to post pictures of me in dresses, all the time, and like service them around online.
See, look at these.
My friends do that as a joke. A lot of times they'll find an old picture or something, throw it up. It's just embarrassing.
Oh, I know it.
That's one good thing about the internet.
I'm doing things to this very day that are embarrassing. So I can't get away. I can't escape embarrassment.
Right. Same here, man. Same here. I agree. Well, Jeff, we're going to take a short break. I've got all kinds of cool stuff queued up for us to jam out to.
Sounds good.
But we're going to kick it in with some Pink Floyd.
Awesome.
Money. I think it's one of the first songs ever with a loop in it, too. In 7/8.
I want that loop.
I do, too. You're locked on to LRS102.com, Jyneration Nation. I am Jen Yates, joined by Jeff Baxter. Stay tuned. It's Pink Floyd. Gotta leave the gong hit, man. It's Queen. Bohemian Rhapsody on LRS102.com. I'm Jen Yates. I'm joined by Jeff Baxter. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
I had to play that one because I heard you play that on a guitar. On an acoustic guitar, you played all of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep. It's
which
awesome.
is rare because it's on piano.
Yeah,
and it sounds so cool on the guitar.
We started to do that. Jim on one of our gigs at the end of the gig. He, I think one time we had there was a guy and we were taking requests and somebody said, I don't know if it's Jim or the other guy said, I know something you can't play.
Yeah,
and Bohemian Rhapsody or something. If I remember, and
he dared you.
I can remember playing it and getting through most of that because I recently tried to work it up on guitar, so it was really neat to watch the guy come up to the tip jar and he raised up, I think it was a 20 or something like that, and he put it in there. He says, it was worth it.
I love that.
So that was really cool.
Yeah. You gotta love when people put money in the tip jar.
Oh, I think it's great.
Oh, me too. One night I'll never forget, I was doing it was in Pennsylvania, I think, at some casino, and we were on tour there, and I always did a drum solo in the middle of this. They always let me have a drum solo. And it was at a casino, so nobody was paying attention to the band. Everybody's gambling. They're pulling their slots, and we're over in the corner like rocking out, but nobody's paying attention to us. And I did my little drum solo, and some guy walked over, and he pulled us out a $100 bill, and he laid it right on my bass drum. He said, "That's for you, not the band." He said, "Not the band, that's for you." And I was like, "Thanks, man. I need that $100."
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this. We have a swear jar here.
Oh.
And basically, because we're streaming live and we're not on a radio dial anymore, we bypass FCC regulations. Well, what that means is we can cuss or say anything we want. So what we do is we take the money and put it in a tip jar, and at the end of the month, we donate it off to charity.
Oh, that's cool.
So that we cuss for a cause and nobody can get mad at us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, no, I try not to.
Yeah, I know my mom's listening, so I try my best not to either. She'd be like, "I like your show. I don't like that hard rock, and I don't like you cussing." That's what she'd say. Yeah. So, Jeff, what else you got going on? I know you're playing tonight. If people want to come out, Joe's Older and Dirt Man. What time you go on?
We're going to be, I think, 6 to either 9 or 10. I can't remember. I never remember.
Well, I know when I was there last Friday, it was 6:30 to 9.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay. We'll go by that.
It could be 6 to 9:30, but I'm pretty sure it was 6:30.
I mean, I'll play extra,
Yeah.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Make them get their money's worth. That's a really cool space, though, because not only is it free, it's kid friendly, it's dog friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got all kinds of cool, like cornhole and all kinds of games out on their back deck.
It's really great. The food's great. I mean,
the food is fantastic.
Place.
Yeah,
we have fun when we go down there.
Yeah, me too. I really love that place. I don't know. Seems like I was playing with my Kentucky Beatniks group up in the Highlands somewhere, and somebody from Joe's saw us and was like, "We want you all over at Linden." And I used to live right there behind those railroad tracks for a while. But I was like, wow, I didn't even know. I forgot all about booking Joe's. So, yeah, we've been playing over there once a month now, and I love it. Really cool. I saw your name on the bathroom door on the poster when I was there last Friday, and I was like, Jeff's playing here. I have to mention that. Yeah.
And the bathroom door. Wait a second.
Yeah, they've got a poster. They've got a poster of all their musicians.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It scared me. I thought you were like, it's not in the stall or anything.
No. No, it said, I hate Jeff Baxter. No, I'm totally joking. Joking.
Call Jeff Baxter for a good time or something.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
No, I know, right? Have you ever had an experience like that? I've walked into a bathroom before and sat down and looked up, and on the pole was Jen Yates is a, and it was it said MFer, but somebody had scratched that out and then put is awesome, and then somebody had scratched that out and then put MFer again, and then somebody had scratched that out, and I took a picture of it. I thought it was funny.
Some of your bandmates,
some of my former bandmates. I don't know if they were playing a joke or not. I think it was a real deal, but it was at a place I frequented, and I was like, wow, I wonder who did that one.
But I'm just.
You know what I do though is if anybody calls me a name, I just go get a T-shirt made with that name on it. Like somebody called me a punk ass bitch one time. I was like, well, I'm just gonna get a shirt that says punk ass bitch and wear it around because it just takes away the. It's like, well, words don't hurt me kind of thing. So it takes the power away.
They call me Monkey Boy, so I'm going to claim that title.
All right, exactly. So, exactly
Jim,
right.
Jim, when we play, I think he said, just sit there and look pretty, and so I looked at him.
How
and
did
I
you
just
get monkey?
the
monkey thing with the symbols. Oh yeah,
so,
the cool
so
one.
I would do that, and they started laughing.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Well, my thing is too, and I would love to talk to you about this because I love to think of myself more, and I've been working on this in the past 5 years as a more creative artist. I don't want to just do cover band stuff. I don't want to just do bar gigs. I would rather sit in a room like Bev and write stuff and come up with my own ideas. Now, I'm not the songwriter, and I'm not your typical songwriter. Yeah. I'm not going to sit around and write an awesome country song or, I've never been that type. But now if it comes to like pop, I'm all about that kind of stuff. I'm definitely more simplistic in my writing. And I think just because I'm limited musically, I did play piano and I did play rhythm guitar for a little while, and I played clarinet. So I do know a vast amount of different instruments. Drums were always my thing. But, I kind of write music about everything going on in my daily life for closure that I cannot get in my daily life. I love to write, obviously, all true stuff. and I love to write about exes and things like that. I think every artist does that.
It's the best therapy. I mean, it's really
It
good therapy.
is.
But
It's
really
free
cool?
therapy.
We've got so many different things we can do with the tools and the sounds and everything. I mean, I'm really, really lucky that I get to work with so many different people, and we're starting to write more.
Yeah.
And that's something I'd like to do with
Sure.
you.
I would love to.
And
I would
write.
love to team up and write.
Yeah.
Now, my writing is pretty dumbed down, but at the same time, I like to challenge myself
You know
with
what?
it.
I think all of it really kind of needs to be
Yeah.
it needs to be, you can't write, beyond.
Elaborate. Yeah, I could not write a Bohemian Rhapsody. You know what I'm saying?
I can tell you right now, I couldn't write it,
Yeah.
unless, I just came from the dentist or something. I mean,
Exactly.
you come to the hospital after surgery.
Yeah.
I can write a song.
Well, I go back and forth with this, but to me, that's why I love art. And I use the analogy all the time. The Dixie Chicks can put Earl in the trunk, and drive him in the river because they don't like how he's treating their girl.
Yeah.
Or Guns N' Roses can write a song and chop a girl's head off and put her and bury her in the backyard.
Yeah.
Bob Marley can shoot a sheriff in a song.
Yeah.
So in songs you can do things. It's like theater. You can do
Incite
things.
violence.
Yeah, you can do things that you could probably never do in a real life daily. And I kind of sometimes play a character when I'm writing. I say things that I probably wouldn't say in my normal, but I'm way ballsier to say it in my music.
Yeah. I'm pretty sappy. I'm trying to say things that I tend to write those sappy or try to go for the deep meaning kind of stuff.
Yeah, or the double entendre.
Or just those
I do a
funny
lot of double
things.
entendre stuff.
Greg and I are writing. Matter of fact, he brings the bulk of the song, though. I got to give him most of the credit, but we're doing some really cool stuff and getting ready to team up with a couple of people, and it's going to be really fun.
Super
to do.
cool. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I would love to write with you, though. I think that would be so fun.
Anytime.
Yeah. This last record that I've been working on, it's more of a diss track. I almost call it my revenge record. It's me saying to everybody who has dissed me in the past or did me wrong or whatever, it's me just telling them what I think, which I might not do on a regular, but I would definitely do it in my songs and play more of like an Eminem type character, because I was, it's weird how influences are. It's like I grew up playing country. I did, I also had a lot of jazz influence in my marching band, the concert band stuff we were doing when I was a kid. I played a lot of rock and roll, played a lot of, just different styles, a lot of blues. Blues always keeps me busy, always. But I just didn't really relate to those styles as much as I did hip hop when hip hop came out. I always loved the beats of hip hop. I loved electronic drums when I was growing up. Phil Collins was a big dude
Phil
when
Collins.
I was, and he was a big electronic proponent and stuff like that. And so I grew up being influenced by like a lot of the earlier Grandmaster Flash and Debrat and Queen Latifah when she had her records out, All Hail the Queen.
Yeah.
I had Salt and Pepper's records when they first came out, and the early years of hip hop, De La Soul and Wu-Tang Clan eventually when they came out, and I really took my writing style more from hip hop because it was all about the beats and the vocals
and that cadence. That
it was all cadence.
Vocal, yeah.
Yeah. So when I write, a lot of people write differently. Obviously, some people write to a piano, some write to a guitar. Well, I had beats to write to.
Yeah.
So,
beats and a guitar.
Yeah.
Pop.
Beats and a guitar.
That's
Yeah,
like-
yeah. A lot of the Hillbilly Swagger was just beats and a guitar. In fact, sometimes we would mix like a Farfisa with an iPad, like 62 with current. It's like, just trying to get some weird stuff. And I'm kind of one of those weirdos that might be out in the backyard recording crickets at 4 a.m. just so I can sample them in something else. You know what I mean? I love weird sounds and meditation bowls and just recording things that aren't the normal everyday. We even recorded like a spray can one time with the ball in it.
Yeah.
To get that sound and then
Get the
use
right-
that for things. Yeah.
Figure out which the right segment and this.
Yeah. And I always loved how like somebody like a Missy Elliott, who by the way supposedly dropped a new record last night at midnight. I need to check that out because I'm a huge fan of Missy Elliott.
Yeah.
But she would say cuss words in her music, but she would go back and like remix the cuss word and put an elephant sound, to cover it up.
Yeah, yeah.
An
and
animal
you have to
sound.
do that to edit, for clean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
version.
yeah. And I'm a big fan of dropping some dirty words in my original stuff. I always have been. I know my mom's rolling over. And
You know
being
how
like,
people
no.
take that word and they'll reverse just that word or make it sound like you're speeding up the
Yeah,
cassette.
Missy Elliott does that all the time. I love that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, at one point Bev wanted to take a beaver sound, which is a really annoying animal sound.
Yeah.
And so we would sit there and sample through like thousands of beaver sounds, because we were going to use that sound to cover up any F-bombs that we had dropped or anything like that, for the, like you said, for the clean versions.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was a kid, though, is when the explicit lyrics thing came out, and if it had that, I was buying it.
Yeah.
If it didn't have it, I didn't want it.
Isn't that strange? That's wild.
It wasn't to me because I liked cuss words in my stuff, and we kind of got away from that. But if you go back and I took a rock and roll history class in college where we would compare and contrast like the white lyrics versus the black lyrics in music, like when they did Shake, Ride on, Roll, they changed all the lyrics to make it more PC, clean version, but I always liked the dirty.
Do you remember when the Babies had Midnight Rendezvous?
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what's at the end of that song? I mean, I'm going to repeat it.
Right.
But you turn that up, and
Yeah.
it's amazing that stuff like that just slipped. It slipped by customs. It got passed.
Yeah.
For years.
It's. I mean, I think today with the internet, we can literally buy whatever versions we want.
Yeah.
And most people that I know in my age range don't care about the cuss words in music.
Yeah.
My parents never really sheltered me from that.
Yeah. And I've always been around it, and but I think I've probably with my background, I tried to. There was a period where I wanted to make sure and just I steer really clear.
Still clear
and
of
I
that,
still
yeah.
do. I try to produce family friendly stuff.
Yeah,
but
I
mean every now and then you got people. I mean I record people and there's all kinds of stuff in there. And it's a matter of I'm held accountable for what I do, and then I'll let them kind of I'm not going to turn down. If somebody wants to record with me, I'm gonna let them record. And
as a producer, you can't really judge.
So that was one
that.
of the things that I tried to watch. But you got some really good records with it doesn't it's expression.
Yeah.
You can't really. It's kind of like art. You can't really.
Well, look at Joan Jett. I mean, I don't give a damn about my bad reputation. I mean, it wasn't. Nobody cared. It was still a big, huge hit.
Great stuff. I mean, it's great.
Really,
I love that.
A great track. Yeah, that drum part is really fascinating to me when you listen to that drum part on that.
Yeah,
it's got those double tom hit things going on. It's really.
And she came from. Was it? No. Who was the other girl? It was
Olita Ford.
It was Fox. Didn't they?
Fox. You talking about Samantha Fox?
Foxy or
Foxy Brown?
Was it the band that they came? They came from the same band, didn't they?
They came from
and
Cherry Bomb. What's the
Yeah,
the Runaways? The
yeah,
Runaways.
the Runaways. Yeah, they came. Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. And there was another.
It's Lita Ford was
there was
in.
a Fox in there, I think.
I can't remember
her. Was she the bass player or something?
I don't know. I only know her and Lita Ford went on to do some major things. Yeah.
Yeah, she was amazing too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when I was a kid, I used to stare at her album covers and be like, "Whoa!" She was always like scantily dressed and almost everything. She was like in swimsuits and I don't know. She looked like she came out of a Playboy magazine, kind of.
No wonder Ozzy did a song with her.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Ozzy. Oh yeah, Lita Ford was like smoking hot back in the day and a great lead guitar player.
Yeah, that was a good song. I remember in the '80s they had. That was the one they done with Ozzy. It was.
What is the name of it? Do you remember? No More Tears. Did she do No More Tears?
Not No More Tears. I can't think of the name of it.
NIB?
Let's see. No. Something Forever.
Oh, yeah. We'll find that and have to spin that later on. Yeah. So, Jeff, tell me a little bit more about your career. What did you do all through, like, the 80s and such?
Well, I played in that variety band, Anxiety, for 17 years. We played everywhere. This was right before the tap law went into effect. We were playing, it was Bruce Ford's band, and like I said, I took Jerry Barker's place. And Jerry Barker, another great bass player. But we went, they would pick me up. They lived right on the block, and their dad would pick me up in the van and drive me to we'd go to Cincinnati, or we'd go to country clubs around here, or Lexington, or we booked out of Guy Rhodes.
Yeah.
We did Mideast Entertainment, and I think was Guy Rhodes, Jack Lawrence even, or was it? I think wasn't it Jack Lawrence? I think
I don't know. Yeah.
But we had a 238. Oh, Triangle also.
Oh, Triangle Talent. Yeah, I love those cats.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in with those
Guy
guys.
Rhodes. Yeah, Guy Rhodes, and they booked this, and we had, I played throughout the 80s and the 90s. Then I had a retail. I was working retail, so I didn't really play a lot of gigs doing the retail. I just kind of, but I kept recording, and right around 98, 99, I started to work with Logic.
Yeah,
and that opened up it just
you mean
my
the
mind.
program, the program Logic?
Yeah, and it was back then. It was on the PC. It was eMagic's version of Logic, version 5.5. I worked with that and Cool Edit, and I was introduced to Wavelab, and I started working there in those programs, and then I learned about VST instruments. And so once
open up a whole nother
VST, oh man, I was like I was on fire at that point,
Yeah.
and I was just learning whatever I could. And so I've been really working with that stuff for years.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say you can't see it, but I have Cool Edit running here. It's actually Adobe Audition.
Oh
now.
yeah,
Bought
yeah.
Cool Edit.
Love Adobe Audition. You can do all kinds of stuff with it.
Adobe is what I do most everything I have. I use 3 different platforms for 3 different reasons, and I've used every single one that you've mentioned.
You got some great forensic stuff in Audition.
Oh yeah. On mine, I have Pro Tools, which is not my favorite.
Yeah.
Logic I use for all the MIDI stuff.
Oh yeah, Logic is.
I also have Ableton because I do a lot of sampling and looping and stuff, and I've got Ableton with the little Launchpad Pro with the buttons with that light up rainbows I can push. I love those for different reasons, you know what I mean? But if I'm a super fast, crazy editor on Adobe Audition, so most every recording I did from Welcome to the Queendom on has been Adobe Audition. Hillbilly Swagger, all
awesome.
Adobe Audition.
I love Audition, and like I said, Cool Edit was.
Yeah.
It was just
Cool Edit was back in the day. When I started working in radio, we had when the computer finally came into the forefront, because when I started working radio, it was all manual. We were talking about this yesterday. You used to have a broadcast license up on the wall when I first started, and that was, I don't know, in the 90s, and I even had to go outside and turn the transmitter on to transmit, and it was in a cow pasture. In a cow field in the middle of the country somewhere.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it'd be like 4 a.m. I'd be out there with a flashlight trying to turn on the thing. And if you forgot, then you were dead air the whole time. It was old school, and everything was manual. It was all by hand. It was still reel-to-reel vinyl, and then eventually CDs came in the forefront. We also had cassette decks and whatnot. But then when I moved to Louisville, everything was pretty much all automated. After that point, that's when the computers came out. So
and you worked with Greg.
Greg Martin.
Yeah.
In fact, I got my start in radio at Classic Old Country AIN down in Adair County. And then I got a job at the Big Dog in Camelsville, 99.9. That's when I met. Of course, I'd already opened for Greg because I was in a band called White Horse down there, and I was playing with a bunch of older guys, and we got to open for Tim McGraw, and we got to open for the Kentucky Headhunters. So I already knew them, and Fred, their drummer, used to follow my dad around because they were all South Central Kentucky players, and Metcalf borders Adair. So
I love his bass drum heads.
Oh, me too. He's still using the same bass drum he was using like in the 70s and 80s. It's funny. But yeah, I even talked to Greg about that. Greg was my first guest on this show because I used to run the board op for his show, Lowdown Hoedown, at 99.9.
Yep.
Yeah, so I thought it was only right to bring him on because I did radio with him for so many years. And then we went on to play in a bunch of different groups together, like off and on, just like side gigging. We did some things with Groove City, and he set in a bunch of jams that I've played at Air Devils one night. He always just shows up and is cool, man.
I think there was a song, Alan, and it's called Life as a Train. I did my best. Greg Martin, I emailed him and I told him, I said, Greg, I did my best Greg Martin on this, and the song is really a cool song on Alan's CD, and Alan knew I just love the way that sounded, but it was the guitar that I tried to when I recorded it, I was trying to think Greg Martin.
Yeah.
And I think I told him that, and it actually.
Oh, he probably loved that.
Oh, I think I sent it to him. I think he commented on it.
Yeah.
I hope he heard it. I hope he listened to it up to the lead.
Oh, he probably. Oh, yeah.
But he's
an
got
audio dude, so
he's got his
he did.
he's got his copyright infringement lawyer on the case right now. Those are
right?
my notes.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
Greg.
know. I know. You know, that's so funny. What do you think about all these lawsuits, man? The Pharrell one threw me for a loop. Because, you know, obviously there are rules that you can only sample so much, or you can only use so much of a melody line or lyrically.
Yeah.
But there's never really been a rule on rhythm. Because could you imagine if they had a lawsuit that was like, there'd be nothing left.
What is
you know?
that? The amen break or whatever?
The amen break.
That would have been in tons of lawsuits.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, it's really weird because, you know, there's only so many combinations. I mean, but...
there's only 12 notes that make up everything that we've ever heard.
And everything.
Right.
And we all just kind of listen to everything we've ever heard. There's not an original note in my body, you know.
Well,
but I think when we chain them together in sequences, you know, I mean, that has to be, there has to be some kind of, you know, permission, I guess, that we can use so many different ones in sequences.
And sometimes I feel like maybe that's why the newer generations always move into whatever technology's going on, because we have sounds now like dubstep.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, there's no dubstep from back in the 80s or 70s or 60s that you can recreate, but now it's a totally different sound. You know what I mean?
And did you see the thing about the Phil Collins, you know, about the gate? Did you see where that was like discovered by accident?
No, tell me about that.
Phil Collins, I saw the video. There's a video circulating around.
You're talking about the effect.
It was the effect.
The gate.
Yeah,
that
and
cuts
I
it
think
off.
Genesis was recording it, and the reason they got that effect, there was a mic in the control room. So, and they were compressed. So the talkback was compressed, I believe. And but anyway, the recording basically it got in that
Echoed
talkback mic,
yeah.
and that's where those drums came from. And they recorded it. They used it on the album. I think one of Peter Gabriel, was it Peter Gabriel?
Probably.
He used that on a song, and then of course Phil Collins. He used that effect extensively.
Isn't that wild? I love effects, and we were talking about VSTs, because nowadays with VSTs you can literally do anything.
Yeah.
I'm a huge collector of like the waves and all the VST.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm a geek like that, like you, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show. I'm like, if I see free VSTs, I'm going to steal them. Trust that.
You know what I've done, and I'm going to tell you this. This is one of the things that I've done recently, and I've still am using. I'm only using Universal Audio plugs, and the reason why I had so many projects, and say if I had to restore a project from 5 years ago, I'd restore it, and then
the VSTs are missing.
Man, wait a second. That was when I had like tons of VSTs.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I can't if I'm going back to a certain like 7 years ago, I have to go and install I have to seek out all these plugs again. I'm thinking,
do you not keep, I'm just curious, do you not keep all your VST? Because all my VSTs are in one folder, and I not only have them on my desktop, but I have them backed up too.
If I could put them on the cloud, and I think when it gets to that point where you can use them fast on the cloud, then I might start to have that. But everything for me is done. All this stuff that's on here, and everything I've produced in the past couple of years, has always been within Logic, and Logic and Universal Audio. Those are the two main plugs. Now I do have one forensic piece. I have Isotope RX.
Yeah, those are good ones too. The isotopes.
That's wonderful for if you have to, if you get a squeak or something, it'll take that right out of there if you do it right.
For people who don't know what we're talking about, these are effects plugins that give you random things. Like you can get them for every instrument. I've obviously have a huge collection of drum VSTs and vocal VSTs. But what I love about this today is that, let's say a producer who produced some of the Beatles stuff is still here. Well, he can go back and create his VST exactly like he had his effects chain, and then they take that and they sell it to people like me and Jeff, who come along and we buy them, and then go, hey, I want my singer to have that Beatles effect sound on whatever they did on Dig a Pony, whatever it is, and then boom, you hit a button and there it is.
You're right in Abbey Road studio.
Exactly, and that's kind of along the same lines of the auto-tune. We were talking about that earlier. Auto-tune is the same idea. It's an effect for your vocals that pitch corrects your stuff. So, which is technically cheating for anybody who can actually sing. But it opened it up for just about anybody who couldn't sing to be pitch corrected and it sound cool, like a Kanye West just saying. I don't care to say it. Dude cannot sing. Yeah. Anyway,
but neat because you got these singer songwriters and they want their ideas to come from their head to tape or not really tape, but they're wanting those ideas out of there, and sometimes they'll get up on the microphone. They need some help. They might need just to lock it in pitch on the way in, and that's helpful. I mean, it's a tool that everybody really needs to be aware of that you can use. And I'm not ashamed to use it on the way in if I need to, but most of the time I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever used auto-tune at all, ever on anything. I don't even have an auto-tune button. But I also feel like, because I've been audio editing for a long time, not only in radio, but as well as in music, that pretty much every VST effect you can find can really be made with somebody who really knows what they're doing. Just with the basic things,
Yeah, matter of fact, the one that I use the most, which I think is the best, and I used to use V-Vocal in Sonar for a number of years, but Logic's Flex Pitch is just, 2 thumbs up.
That's cool.
I'm not a Melodyne fan. Everybody uses, the whole industry right now, they love Melodyne. I don't think...
Yeah, what's Melodyne?
Melodyne is one of the biggest, one of the widest, all the pop people are using it. It's all over everything. Just about everybody. Nashville. All the auto-tune was the standard when they came out, and it still is.
And before auto-tune, we had that little tube thing that went in your mic. What's that thing
you
called?
actually had MIDI. There was something where you can actually ride the pitch wheel and that was the early.
I still use that now. I'm not gonna lie. I've got a lot of MIDI stuff, and I have a little Novation keyboard. It's just 2 octaves, but it has the modulation wheel and the pitch wheel on it, and it can do some really interesting things. I can get all those dubsteppy sound. I can MIDI just about anything with that, and I love to use it with Logic because the Logic patches for MIDI are amazing.
They are stellar.
So if I'm going to do anything MIDI, it's always through Logic.
Yep, I'm right there with you. You know, and I'm learning. Josh Carney, the music help tech guy.
Yeah,
he's the one that has the videos on there. You can learn a lot if you just watch him. But most of the time, I just fall asleep right in the middle because he's at these 30-minute videos.
Yeah,
and you can just I fall asleep real easy.
Yeah.
But
nowadays too, I'm big into if you go to doo-wop shop, you can toy around with all their their MIDI stuff, and they've got all kinds of things that you can do, the vocoders and all kinds of just wacky things that make you sound like a robot. And Daft Punk was big with that stuff, and I always loved their stuff.
We're writing some. Me and my good buddy Jeff Goddard. He's just a great guy. We wrote. Of course, I'll tell you about that later. But
sure,
there's a. He would bring songs over, and we would try to write them in the style of say ELO.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 or 3 songs that we wrote, and we were using the vocoder patches, and they just turn out, they're wonderful.
Yeah, I love a vocoder patch. Yeah.
So I'm proud of those. I think maybe we'll release a couple of those in this next year.
Yeah.
If we can get them out there. They're really good songs.
I even get weird sometimes, and I'll do I'll take a vocal and run it through a guitar effect, VST or something, and just see what I can get out of it. It's always really interesting. Amp, Yeah, obviously I'm a big fan of just recording it that way, but I have always loved effects. I'm super geek.
It's neat to be able
sense.
to slap something on it and see if it works, and then non-destructive, you can pull it back out.
Take it off, take it off, yeah. It's so interesting how they can make your sound so much cooler. Yeah. So anyway, what else you got going on, Mr. Jeff?
That's,
you brought me in a little CD today.
Oh yeah, I brought some stuff just in case you want to hear. I got some blues stuff. I got just a bunch.
You're all around. Do you have a favorite style that you love to play, or you just like music in general?
I really just like music. I like it when people bring stuff in. Sophia's.
Can we play her track? Is there a track on there?
Yeah, her track's the number 1 on there.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And I brought something from another really good artist, It's Nellie Nicole, and she's
Okay.
local. She's outstanding. I worked with her about a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years, and to write a song, and it's been almost 2 years, I think. Great artist.
How do you find these artists? Because I know I'm always seeking for artists and looking for new ones to collaborate with. And
People will usually, they'll refer me, or I might know somebody, and they're like, "Hey, I know somebody needs to do a demo," and that's how I meet a lot of people.
Wow, that's
just
super
working
cool.
with
Yeah,
them. It's awesome.
networking around town and
Yeah,
whatnot.
and I told you this a long time ago. One of my favorite. I'm a big fan of her now. It's Katie Tupin. She went years ago, and she's probably going to hear this and probably going to call me up and say, "Hey, what for?" But she and I've always been a fan. When she came over, she a long time ago came over to record, and this is when she was right before she went to sing with Houndmouth. And
I love
Oh
Houndmouth.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
awesome. And I'm just real proud of her. She's done a really good job, and but I remember her coming over years and years ago. It's been about 10 or 12 years ago. And the funny thing is, gosh, I'm probably gonna get her in trouble. But no, she brought her dad's guitar, but we brought a couple of guitars. They were great guitars anyway. So, but anyway, if she's listening, I was just gonna tell her hi and tell her congratulations on her career. I'm really proud of her.
Where is she at now? Is she still here in Louisville? Or?
She's been touring. She was recently in Louisville, I think, but she's been touring like crazy.
Cool.
So she's awesome. She probably won't remember, but she'll remember if I tell her it was in Valley Station. That's that's where I have my studio. It's out there.
Valley
in the heart of
Station,
Valley
man.
Station.
Yeah,
but
the
I'm in
Valley
PRP
girls.
now. A little closer.
Yeah, I've been to your studio in PRP.
Yeah, you've been to my son's.
Yours-
actually.
is that your son's studio? Okay,
you need
that's
to come over to mine actually. And I got to give a big shout out to my design team, on the ones
Sure.
working on my studio. Wonderful, just a sweetheart of a guy, Bob Lyons, and then another sweetheart of a guy, Kenny Essex. Great designers. This studio is going to be
Yeah, I've seen pictures of your studio. Yeah.
they're just remarkable. And actually Kenny is going to be releasing some stuff with the Vortexans.
Yeah.
It's going to be really cool.
Vortexans,
stuff. It's
what a
really,
great name.
Really awesome stuff. So
Yeah.
be listening
By the way,
for that stuff.
my dream in life is to have a treehouse recording studio.
Yeah,
Because
that'd
I
be-
grew up with a treehouse and it was my sanctuary when I was a kid. So I would love to have a big, nice one.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that.
Yeah,
That's really
with like
cool.
sleeping quarters that you can crash out on. I really want some sort of. I've already got designed in my head. I want some sort of like crawl up space to go outside up at the top, so you can
yeah.
be in the actual trees and have like a little, chill, creative space to be up there and write.
I'm sorry I dropped your Martin.
Right. Oops. 100 foot
Sorry
down.
about that.
Oh yeah, but yeah. So I don't know. There's always, you always have your dreams in life. I've already got my dream car, which is the '73 Volkswagen camper
Yeah,
bus.
you do.
I was
yeah.
driving it yesterday. Yeah, I just love that thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've made a resurgence. I was looking at those. I didn't even know. I really didn't know.
Yeah,
they
the new ones
existed.
are electric.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talking about the old? You didn't know the old ones
I
existed?
didn't know that they were like campers. I knew they were like
Oh, yeah.
buses, but then I really wasn't aware they had.
Yeah, the one I have is the last year of the air-cooled engines. So literally, there's like 4 buttons on it, and the mechanic told me yesterday it's about 10 degrees away from being drivable every day.
That's what you
like a
need.
normal car.
You need a recording studio. In there.
Well,
That's what you
I've already
need.
thought
A
about
mobile-
that. Yeah,
that would be the
we
bomb.
put a
That's-
recording studio
Oh,
in the
yeah.
camper bus.
When
Name
you-
it.
When
yeah.
you see the space that I'm working in to record
Sure.
right now, you'll easily see. I mean, you could do this, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
you can actually record a.
Well, the room you're in right now, Hillbilly Swagger recorded in about half of the space.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah,
recorded in a very small space.
Yeah, it's about my place right there.
Yeah,
So,
and the space I have now, my studio at home that I just got, I mean, it's a pretty small space too. I don't really need a whole lot.
yeah, and if you have small near field speakers, they say that's ideal. I mean, you're looking at about a 3.5 foot triangle, and
Yeah.
you got 10 and a
Yeah.
half feet back. That's almost ideal.
Yeah, it's actually quite big in that camper bus. I was sitting in it last night, and of course the top pops up, and it's got a bed in there. It unzips on the side, like the mesh, with the tent.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they literally were made for camping and sleeping in and traveling across the world, and pulling over on the side of the road and going to bed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty rocking. I named her Tawanda. So maybe we'll make it Tawanda Recording Studios.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. Tawanda.
Well, of course, I named her.
Tawanda Roberts.
That's wild. I've never heard of anybody actually named
Somebody's
Tawanda.
going to look her up now, and she's probably going to.
She's gonna say, they're gonna say, I heard Jeff Baxter talking about you.
And I didn't even really know that.
It was nobody you dated. It was just somebody you went to school with.
Tawanda. I was like, I've never heard a name Tawanda.
Well, I hadn't either, but I did not know anybody personally named Tawanda, but I named her off of the Kathy Bates from Fried Green Tomatoes when she says, face it, honey, I'm older and I have more insurance, and she rams her car into the chicks that just stole her parking spot.
Wow.
She screams Tawanda before she does it.
Oh, cool.
So when I was working on Welcome to the Queendom, you'll love this. We wrote a song called Boom Tawanda, and it's about crashing your car into. It's about a lot of different things. Really, it's about a girl, but isn't every song about a girl? But it's about we wanted to give. We call it like it's almost a feminist character in the movie, but it's not an actual person. It's just something she screams out. Mm-hmm. But it's a really funny part in that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes. So we wanted to I guess encapsulate that in time and be like, we wrote a song about Tawanda, and then later on I ended up getting the bus. I just named her Tawanda because of that reason.
Awesome.
Because you have to have more insurance to have that thing. Yeah. It's a second vehicle and it's a historic car. So,
it seems like the older cars, you don't need that. But you're right. Those historic vehicles, and the vehicles.
That thing is like a happy magnet too. I call it the happy magnet. I drive that, and it's weird because when you're inside it, you forget what you're driving on the outside because you can't see the outside. Mm-hmm. People will come up and down the street. They want a selfie with it. They want to come over and talk to you about the car. They put smiles on their faces. I get peace signed everywhere I go.
Not mine. I got sad magnets. I got angry magnets.
That's hilarious. Angry magnets.
Yeah, mine's an angry magnet.
That's funny. It's a good thing you're not that smart car out there.
I want one of those too.
Yeah, me too. I thought that was cool. Yeah, when Steve Cooley pulled up in one, I said, "Can you get your banjo in there?" He was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I can get a banjo, PA, all this stuff." I was like, "Wow, man." Yeah. Those smart cars are cool.
I didn't know he had a smart car.
Yeah, he pulled up in one the other day.
That's pretty wild.
That's really cool. This street corner is popping. Not to make it sound filthy.
No, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, I walked out yesterday and Robbie Bartlett was driving down the street and she honked at me and was like, Jen, I was like, Robbie Bartlett. It's like a musician street corner over here at Logan and Broadway.
Yeah. And I'm watching the people walk through. Some of them are in shock and disbelief that there are a couple microphones in here.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny because almost every day I have somebody come to this window. The other day when Max Maxwell was up in here, some guy came up here and was like, C-A-R-D, and he was throwing gang signs and all kinds of crazy stuff. I've had them walk up in here and ask for jobs. They usually knock on the window and wave, but they love to watch people broadcasting on Broadway here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's always active. Yeah. I love the location, tell you the truth. I think it's really groovy.
This is a really cool place.
We get the step and repeat, all the autographed musicians.
Yeah.
The Killers are up there. Did you see John Cena, the wrestler, is up in there?
Yeah, I saw that. He's been looking at me.
All kinds of crazy stuff. There's all kinds of Three Doors Down, Sign That, Disturbed, Trapped, Blue October,
That's awesome.
We even got the new Tool. Tool just put out their entire catalog streaming, which I've always been a huge Danny Carey fan and Tool fan, and they're just like on a different plane. Some of those rock and roll bands that are current are just the tantric, all that stuff. It's just pretty amazing what they do. But LRS is back, man. We've gone through a lot of stuff over the years that we've been around since 1964.
When my buddies used to spend the night, we'd have our musical instruments. This is back when I was 13. I remember we called into the radio station. Called in. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember the DJ, but it was LRS, and we called in, and it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and he answered, and he said, and he put us on the air too. Yeah. And he says, "Hey," he goes, "I got my buddy here. He's got his guitar. This is 5 o'clock in the morning." He goes, "Turn it up, Jeff, and play one." So I didn't want to be on. I was like, no. And I guess whoever it was, the DJ was like, "Yeah, come on." You could hear it. And it was really weird. I could hear the feedback, but so I turned it up, and he said he's going to play something really awesome for you, and I think I played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Yeah.
And it was just horrible. And they were laughing, and my buddy Randy hung
What did you
on
play
his-
it on?
he said-
Guitar?
It was on a guitar. It's
Oh,
just a
okay.
nasty sound. Just an old electric. Was all out of
I was
tune,
wanting you to say
pitches.
like melodica or
Oh, it
something
was
crazy.
horrible. But I mean, it was the only thing I was just so embarrassed. And it was 5 o'clock in the morning, so I had
Yeah.
to crank it up really loud.
Uh-huh.
Sure, I woke my mom up. But
That's
that was a
amazing.
good memory.
I
and
bet.
and they were like, "Oh, why are you doing this to us?" You know,
The radio
Yeah,
station
the radio
did?
station. They're like, "Oh, sorry,
We don't
that's not
like
right."
that.
Yeah, I know
Right.
it. So if they remember that, that would be. I'd love to hear a recording of that.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
that
man.
would be awesome.
Yeah, I was going to tell you because we both produce, and I love that, is that when I was a kid, my dad always told me he thought I'd go on to make movies because I always had a video camera in my hand when as early as they had the 8mm cams with the
Yeah.
old, remember they used to be attached with a microphone. Like
Yeah.
they had an attached
Yeah,
with a cable
yeah.
microphone. But anyway, we always had like dual cassette tape players, and he was kind of a, he was a
Yeah.
techie geek too. And me and my sister would always be making up a radio show on those dual cassette tapes.
Yeah.
We figured out how to get a microphone to record us
Sound
in.
on sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was DJ Jazzy Jen, and she was the Fresh Caroline, my sister.
Yeah.
And we used to like overdub ourselves, like laughing hundreds of times, and then we would tell jokes and then put those behind it. Like I was always making
That's cool.
cassette
You're
tape
on another
radio
level.
shows.
Well, you really need to be in this. You need to be doing
Right.
this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love radio, man. Can you tell? I just love to talk to
Oh, I
people.
know.
Always have. I always have. So when they offered me the show, I was like,
They knew
heck
they knew
yeah.
what they were doing when they got you to do it.
Yeah,
so.
thanks, Skinny J. We love Skinny J. He's the one who hired me. But man, doing all those old shows back in the day, it was kind of funny. I wish I had copies of those. My aunt and uncle would
Yeah.
put them on their boat on Green River and Lake Cumberland. They put them in there and they'd listen to them over and over and over again, so much that they wore them out. Because back then, the tape
Yeah.
goes and you
Yeah.
can't fix that stuff.
Yeah, the oxide on those things.
Yeah, exactly. So I just felt like I was born to do radio, and I used to call my little radio station and request Dolly Parton nonstop. And when I turned 16, the lady said, "I'm going to give you a job. Come up," and she sure did. I didn't even put in an application. She just hired me on the spot because she
great.
loved my voice. Yeah, so it was really cool.
Yeah.
So radio, man, going back doing shows, producing stuff, I was doing that from the time before I even knew what I was doing, really. And looking back, some of it was really genius. We were always using
I'm
weird
sure it was.
microphones and, just different things to try to get different sounds. And it's back when, I don't know if you ever listened to 3 Feet High and Rising by De La Soul, but when they came out, it was literally, they say mixtapes today, which are kind of a joke, but like back then they really were mixing everything.
Yeah,
They were
they
taking
did, yeah.
samples of everything. They were putting, pretend shows in their CDs and then it'd go into something else.
You
A
didn't
lot
do
of
it
the
right the
turntable
first time. You had
vinyl.
to rewind and do it
Yeah,
again. Till you
a
get
lot
that.
of voiceover stuff. I mean, it was their records were not like straight music. It was shows, in between, and there was never a time period where it stopped. And every 30 seconds later was something different. I was all into that,
I think back about what really inspires me about all this music, and I
Yeah.
have to go back to the early, this was like the late 40s, early
Yeah.
50s. Like you're talking about like where Bill Putnam designed the LA-28. This is like big, that's huge to me, and I never would have dreamed that we would have our hands on technology like that today. And so I just look back at all that stuff, and I'm it's just it blows my mind.
Yeah.
All that technology that they have, and it's still used today. And that's what fuels me.
Do you know Marvin Maxwell? You know him, right?
Yeah, Marvin. Yeah, Marvin's super.
The Hal Blaine of Louisville, I call
Yeah,
him.
yeah. And a long time ago, this has been, I guess, close to 20, it's been more than 20 years ago. I guess I was on a CD, my good buddy Paul Turner had me on a CD with Mark and Max. And then,
cool.
of course, Marvin being the dad, I worked for Willis Music for a while, for about 4 years. And there was a gentleman there by the name of Tony Ragazine. And he was kind of like a dad to me.
Yeah.
It was I really miss him. He was so funny. He would fuss at me for pushing the vacuum cleaner. After I'm done sweeping the floor, I'd have to push the vacuum cleaner to the back of the store. And he yelled at me one time. He says, "Boy, don't you ever push that vacuum cleaner without it not running."
Yeah.
And so, but I hear he and Marvin and Kenny and all the local, and Jerry,
Yeah.
Conti, they all would play poker, I think, or play cards. That's what I hear tell, but they're all really great. Marvin's he's done so much for this community.
Oh man, I mean, he came in and brought in vinyl records that he recorded here in the '60s in the same building. Yeah, it was nuts.
And another guy, Jeff McAllister.
Oh yeah, he was in on the show week one.
He's an amazing. He's super. And another guy to mention. You can't mention Jeff without mentioning Johnny Roy, who is a legend.
The godfather of drumming in Louisville.
But he definitely those two, Marvin and Johnny, but Johnny in particular, they deserve so much respect.
Yeah, I agree. I've been trying to get John Roy on the show because he is the godfather of all the drum teacher, the drum students and everything here.
He's like, that's royalty. Yeah, really, to have him.
Absolutely, I would love to get him in. The reason I ask you about Marvin Maxwell is because he will tell you about the invention of reverb. He'll tell you about all the effects that when it finally came into music, and he was, he was telling me about. They used to record their zippers and just random things, and the way that they tried to record it was crazy, but he loves to tell the story about Phil Spector and reverb and all those 50s tracks that we got those weird slapback vocals on. He was telling me that they would have they had a propane tank underneath the ground. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, and they put a speaker and a microphone down there.
They put a speaker on one side and a microphone on the other, and they would channel the vocals and everything through, and then record it on the microphone on the other end, which gave you a way delay and reverb kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then that's how we got all those. Is it the Shirelles all the doo-woppy kind of things? All the Phil Spector stuff, the wall of sound, right?
Yeah, and all
it's
that
fascinating to see how far we've come in music since just the 50s.
And those plate reverbs, I'm a fan of those plate reverbs. I use those
reverbs,
those Universal Audio, the EMT plate reverb.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite pieces.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I love some of that stuff too. Do you compress a lot of stuff? Because people gripe today about all the compression.
I compress. It depends on what you're doing, but a lot of times I'm compressing just a little bit going in. It really depends, but it's got to be transparent.
Yeah.
Because I'm not I don't like all that pumping and gating and all that stuff. But unless you're looking for an effect and you do it like that. But most of the stuff I try to get it as clean as possible.
Yeah.
And that's but I think I overdo it a lot of times. I think it's too clean sometimes. I think we really need dirt. And I'm actually a big fan of the hiss, the tape hiss, all that.
Me too. I love
that stuff. And so I'll leave it in there. And I'm not even scared to have guitar amps that are noisy anymore. It's almost it needs to be there. It needs to be natural.
I agree. And a lot of times, you probably obviously know this, with drums you're pretty much micing more stuff than any other instrument. So I always feel like the drums are really the hardest thing to get. And again, the foundation, because it's hard. It's weird sometimes because most people record with drums and bass going first if they don't do the whole band in one room at one time. Usually it's just like a real band. You've got to have your foundation solid, because it doesn't matter what you put on top of it if the foundation is not solid. You always will get bleed in drums, no matter what.
Yeah, and bleed's good because...
I agree. I love some bleed. And sometimes you'll get some weird things that come out of it. I get little happy accidents where I'm like, what was that sound in that track?
Exactly...
what was that? I have no idea. And I'll go back and try to find it and can't find it. And it's probably just from some effect or something, and I'm like, well, I kind of dig it. I'm going to leave it there.
It's cool to solo through and, that's where it's coming from. Sometimes you can have two tracks that are making some weird, just anomaly in there. You can't, and when you find it, you're like, oh, it's like you found treasure.
And I have had the opposite happen, where there is something in there that I can't find by soloing the tracks, and I'm like, where is that coming from? But I've had, like I said, there was always a bird in the studio with us. It's always chirping in the background somewhere. It always made some. I think the Stones did that too. They were really big on happy accidents. You know what I mean?
I tell you what, there's another really cool guy I need to mention, and he is really he's really helped me a lot. And I met him on my route when I was doing the courier thing in LaGrange, and his name's Steve McCabe, and he's just this guy's one of the coolest guys. So he'll probably hear this and I don't know. Hopefully, you won't get mad at me for telling you about him. But he's produced all kinds of people. He used to be, he used to be up at Power Station.
Yeah, oh, cool.
And he did a lot of the, huge advertising stuff. He's worked with all the greats from, B.B. King to, gosh, everybody. I mean, you can go to SteveMcKayMusic.com and see for yourself. But he told me that, and he's huge on. He always tells me, I've learned a lot about him. The way he records. He is a huge fan of, you got to have your musicians. They need to know the song. Mm-hmm. The way they made records back then, and he's totally right. Mm-hmm. The way they made records years ago, they'd get it to sound the way it needs to sound. Mm-hmm. And those engineers, I mean, they knew what to look for.
Oh yeah.
And they would set up tracks, and they would run through 15, 16, 17 takes. The Stones, in particular, and I believe his buddy was one of the engineers on some of the big. I can't remember exactly which song, but they said they ran through like 17 takes, go out for lunch, and he told me they'd come back and they'd run through another.
Man, 17 takes a lot.
And and then they would go, oh, number 17, that's the magic. That's the one. Yeah. And and that's what I never will forget that. What he told me, I won't forget. Forgive me, Steve, I won't remember all the details, but he would tell me things like that, and it just makes me realize that he's right. We really need to get back to the musicians rehearsing, getting all their parts down, and getting everything set up the way it needs to be. We don't need any plug. They didn't have plugins.
No, they didn't. No.
And they had magical recordings.
In fact, if you go back and listen to like those Funk Brother records, or like the ones from Motown USA and all that Detroit recordings, I mean, they literally would have like 2 mics in a room for an entire band.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I still use the Beatles method when it comes to mic in my drums. I don't like a lot of mics.
3 mics? Is it 3 mics?
Usually 2 or 3, but I try to get 3. Yeah, overhead, snare, and kick. That's it.
Yeah, I'm using that. I usually will put a mic in the kick.
Yeah,
and I'll have one over the with the snare and the hats, and then I would have another one, usually in an angle, more of a Glenn Johns kind of thing, but
more for the floor tom and the
45
ride
down to the floor tom, and those 3 mics are it.
Yeah, if you can't get it in those 3, I mean, because you're going to get bleed no matter what.
Phasing problems, all kinds of different phasing. But I'm a big fan of fewer mics on the drums.
Me too. I'm straight up like that too.
Yep.
If you get great mics, good equipment that sounds good, and you get a good level going in, that's all you need.
And I'm proud of my son, and my son Jeff, he's awesome. And good job on the drum sounds. He's already passed me up on everything. So you
taught him well.
I don't think I taught him. I think he's a sharp.
Yeah.
He picked it up. He gets great drum sounds. I'm really proud of him. He's really He really shocked me.
I've been lately, because I went more into the hip hop, into the electronic, more into those super subby bass sounds, and the 808s and mixing in all those kind of sounds, because it is. Today's kids, when they listen to modern day stuff, they want their entire soul vibrating with bass. That's just how it is. That's how they are.
And bass is the hardest thing to get.
I agree. Correct. Bass is one of the hardest things to record. Yeah. So I've been really spending a lot of time on figuring out how to get the sounds that they get in Miami and the sounds that they get in all those club sounds. Those. I mean,
once
that
you get it
vibrate in your soul. Yeah, exactly.
Get that place, and there's bass room. You seen that plug bass room?
Yeah,
that's a cool plug.
And,
but there's all kinds of cool things, and the room correction and all that. I went through that phase, but I tell you, I'm always gonna have to be. I can't escape it. I have to take that mix to the car or to the.
Oh, I do too.
You're always gonna have to do that.
You know what? I'd listen to it on the little Yamaha. What is it?
NS10s.
Yeah, just the smallest speakers, and I also have some JBL recording speakers or studio speakers that I love. But I agree. My Volkswagen car is the best sound system ever. That's why I haven't got rid of the car yet, because the sound system is so awesome.
You've learned it, and it's familiar.
And I can take my mixes there, and if it sounds good in my car, it's going to sound good across the board. I know this for a fact because I've done it for so long now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are certain things I can even run it through my little boombox speakers if it sounds good on there, and it's going to sound good on anything else.
You could get an FM transmitter and transmit all your mixes.
Yeah.
into your
Isn't that
car.
wild?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just basically do anything today. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, real quick, I want to remind everybody that you can join LRS102.com Saturday, August 31st for the final outdoor summer concert series. That's at Floyd Brewing Company at First in Maine and New Albany. You can also get a shot to win free VIP, bourbon, and beyond tickets. We're going to be broadcasting live from 8 until 11 with music from Golden Ticket Someday Soon, Chris Rubino and the Newburgh Soul. You can come taste some fantastic craft beer at the best outdoor venue in the region and listen to great live music with LRS The Walrus at Floyd County Brewing Company. That's August 31st. Join us there. So I want to make sure everybody gets out and does that. And, of course, LRS has got LRS Fest coming up. We've got a huge, awesome lineup that's going to be the first weekends in October. And, of course, we're going to be broadcasting at World Fest coming up soon. Yeah, we're the official radio station at World Fest. So come get your culture on because, dude, there's everything there from Middle Eastern belly dance music to... they call it gumbo blues, all the way to, you've got just literally every kind of style of music at World Fest. That's why they call it World Fest, and the food is amazing. Try everything. I wanted to spin this track one off of here. And who did you say this is? This is Wilson Pickett's granddaughter?
Yeah, this is Wilson Pickett's great niece.
Niece.
Yeah, this is Sophia Pickett, which is his niece, and this is her daughter. And
awesome.
She's amazing. It's Justice Loftus.
And you, Justice Loftus, and you produced this.
Yeah. Basically, not the track, but basically it's just her showing off what she can do.
Cool.
She's
Let's
awesome.
hear it.
She's awesome.
I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
You're locked on to Jyneration Nation, LRS102.com.
Yes, I know we called it quits and let it go while losing sleep. Yeah, what was my plan? To let this man trip me up and go around negating me. Yes, it's cliche. He was my bae. I thought we lasted through everything that he'd say, but I was tripping. You won't catch me slipping no more. So I ask whoever, and so I ask message. Now you look suspect. Count your blessings. Enough with all that he said. Cause you cannot raise a man, so I wash both of my hands. Hope you understand. It's cliche. He was my babe. I thought we lasted through everything that he said, but I was tripping. You won't catch me slipping no more. And so I asked
All right, that's Wilson Pickett's Great Knees. How
Great
cool is
Knees,
that? I
yeah.
love that track. That's straight up my alley, more hip
She's
hop
awesome. So
kind of stuff.
great
And great job on the
job.
production on that. Sounds fantastic.
It was easy with her, and I really didn't do much. I mean, really,
Yeah.
truthfully, just the vocal work on it.
Yeah.
So
By the way,
that's-
we didn't mention Lincoln Bridge at all. We've got some stuff of theirs too, and I really want to get them on the show.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of theirs. I watched their I actually saw them live at Gerstle's for the Doug tribute.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they brought down the house on that gig, and I'm a big fan of those guys.
Yeah, I tell you what, and especially with Doug, that was great. I was with him on that gig, and but I tell you what, for Doug and especially Doug and Kim, I know she's probably one of the best around.
Oh man, I
but,
just got to work with her at Chi Castle, and we taught side by side for years, and didn't even ever get to play. And when she lost Doug, I lost Bev right around that time.
Oh yeah. And
so it's very similar stuff.
Every single guitar player, and I'm not kidding, every single guitar player around here, they always wanted to be like Doug. And I mean, he was
a badass,
he
man.
was incredible.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, so I just say. That's a huge loss, and,
huge.
and I really feel bad for Kemet because they were. It's like that you just can't even.
Yeah,
you can't talk.
She's
about.
rocking it though. They're at the State Fair, man. They're everywhere. From Paris is everywhere. She's got the Back to Mac tribute.
Yeah, Doug's proud of her.
Of course he is.
So with her keeping on. That's the fire that she has, and I know she does it for Doug.
Kemet's an amazing artist, one of my favorite vocalists in town.
Yeah, she
really is, and another one that swears she never had a lesson a day in her life.
Yeah,
isn't that wild?
And I believe it.
So Jeff, thank you for being on the show. You want to give a shout out to your wife?
I want to, tell her, Melissa, thanks for everything. She
you're lucky.
supports me.
I always say this as a single musician of 40 years with no kids and no family.
Yeah.
You're lucky if you can find something
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention her. And actually, I probably should have brought her song in here, but we'll do that next time.
Okay, you're welcome on the show anytime. And anytime you want to break something, you just bring it right on in, because that's my goal, is to turn LRS back more into the old school music where the DJs broke the artist and it wasn't so corporate and them telling you what to play.
We're going to do that.
I'm down with it. Yes, and we're going to also write some songs together.
We are going to write.
Yeah.
We're going to do
I
lots
need to
more
have you
stuff.
produce a couple tracks on my... I have some crazy ones. I've got one called Strango that's coming out that's very odd and bizarre, talking about stains on dresses and everything else. I've got a song called Talk Is Cheap coming out. I'm way out there with my percussion stuff.
You're right there. I mean, you never know.
I want it to be pop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like pop modern, like accepted modernly, you know.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Exactly. So why not try?
That's right.
Yeah. So Jeff, thank you for coming on the show. I've had a blast today.
Thank you.
You're
My
fascinating.
pleasure.
I told you it goes so quick. I could sit here and talk about production all
getting
day long with
started.
you. I know, we're just getting started. So if you want to check out Jeff, check you out tonight at Joe's Older Than Dirt, somewhere around 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Until about 9:30 or so.
I'm thinking 9:30.
You're going to be rocking the guitar.
I think I'm going to be doing some guitar and bass.
Okay, guitar and bass tonight.
I might flop back and forth.
Yeah, I never know what you're going to be playing.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to promote while we've got a few minutes?
Man, I tell you, I can name a bunch of things, but I'm gonna forget them all. So I mean,
shout outs to people.
Shout out to everybody. I think I've.
And good luck in your production stuff, because I'm a big fan.
Thank
love
you.
a producer.
Thank you.
It's a whole different level when you're a producer and not just an artist.
My buddy, my bestie, Alan Slaughter.
Alan Slaughter, man. Yeah.
This guy is an amazing guitar player, and I'm telling you, he is one of the best. He gets some of the best guitar sounds, but he's not only that, but he's my best friend in the whole world.
That's cool, man.
He's awesome. So
there's nothing
he's gotta
better
listen to
than having a best friend who plays music with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, him and D. Yeah. So thanks, D.
When I find people like that, I try to keep them around me forever. I felt like Bev was one of my best friends. We just related, and we laughed so much playing music together, and we wrote the silliest songs, but we laughed so hard. And looking back now, I'm like, I'm glad I got her for that time period of her life, because we had so much fun,
I know.
So having a best friend that you play music with, there's just nothing better.
He's incredible.
Well, check this out. I'm going to leave you with the first song I ever learned on drum set. You ready for it?
Yep.
It's
Awesome.
Frankenstein. Edgar Winter Group.
Yep.
All right, I'm Jen Yates. You're locked on to Jyneration Nation. And I want you to stay tuned. Tune in next week, Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. I've got all kinds of cool people up in the studios. I don't remember the list, but they're all awesome. So anyway, tune in next week. And as always, thank you, Jeff.
So long. Thank you very
And
much.
keep it groovy, y'all. Have a great weekend. Stay safe.